finally got through here to the regular carrier too.
Don't ask these kids, who's going to pay this Medicare bill?
She calls it spicy white.
I'm lucky. As long as Claudia works, I'm not in Medicare. So, keep working. I'm not sure how long we're going to get along if you don't.
Oh, I would have liked some of that. I'll get your membership to the Canadian Club.
They brought up the car walk, you know, they have about 15,000 kids up there.
No, I don't think they won't do martinis.
About 10, 15,000.
They all gave me their comments.
Huh?
They all gave me their comments.
We left before we had all the candy.
Good evening, it's 7:25. We have scheduled a public hearing for the caper. Britta, I guess it's all you, huh?
It is.
All right,
Thank you, Mayor.
We need roll call first.
Mr. Amrine?
Here.
Mr. DeLeon?
Here.
Mr. Ferrara?
Here.
Mr. Kuhar?
Here.
Ms. Rosenberg? Here. Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Here.
Mr. Sidoti?
Here.
Mr. Turner?
Here.
Ms. Wallach? Here.
All right, it's all yours, Bridget.
Thank you. Annually, the City of Kent needs to complete the Consolidated Action Plan Evaluation Report, also known as the CAPER, 45 days after the completion of its most recent program period. The city's program year 2021 ended on July 31st, 2022, and began on August 1st of 2021. During that time period, the City of Kent expended $230,006 on 100% of its activities that benefited low to moderate income persons. It spent 3% on economic development initiatives for job opportunities for low-income persons. It spent 41% on housing rehabilitation activities, another 20% on public facilities and improvements in low-income block group areas, which is the work that is being done in the South End. It spent 23% on public services to benefit low to moderate income persons, which includes homeless assistance as well as the community policing program. It spent an additional 13% on fair housing and general administration. And this report will be submitted to HUD on October 31st.
Okay, are there any questions from the audience? Seeing none, the public hearing is adjourned. Go into border control.
So we do have the one that's not here yet. 13,000. It's for 13,000 more on our firewalls to this company for IT. So I don't know where. Did you get that one? No. There's another addendum.
I read it online.
So the third addendum is this 13,000
For yourself?
our firewall, the company that handles our firewall. Takes our total of 77,000. It's in the budget. So good. So if we just keep that in mind, we can make a motion when it's there. What's that? Well, that's an addendum. Oh. Yes, that's the
Nice of you.
So first we've got the minutes.
You need a stove and a
Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
stove and a dishwasher?
Minutes carried.
Remember,
Now
I
we've
told
got, tonight, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 there, plus the addendum, plus the addendum.
No new pictures
Yeah?
this week?
Well,
I seen the one.
She fell. Well, she was crawling and she hit her place on a toy. My daughter-in-law calls her. How bad is it? And she said, well, there's a mark there.
I'll have you know, I am in no way, shape, or form in charge of that part of the agenda.
I said to her, I said,
What's my son?
Not from.
I said, you do understand this is the first of many rumors.
It's the first one. The second one will.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yep.
I just thought that was, I was all alarmed. What do you mean? What do you mean? I take her to the
I
hospital.
know.
And she's like, there's a mark there. It's like, oh,
Well,
wow.
and then you've got, I always took
First one, Jack.
Yeah, I know.
I know there's 2 R's. I'm always like, gosh, Josh, Ed, Jar, for, you know, I mean, like they're cleaning it up. It's like, whatever. It's any consolation. I still get to be somebody, the second one.
No, we've been through it. Understand it all.
So far, we haven't gotten cabinets yet. I'd like to make room for the cabinets.
Well,
Getting rid
not
of
walking
the
on
stove
that
and
side,
dishwasher
going
in
on
my
and on. Yeah.
garage.
Wow.
It's getting there.
Yeah, I was
I give her a lot of credit. I mean, almost 3 years not being able to walk. Right? You know, she still can't walk right, but she can at least walk.
Go through the process.
Good for her.
I like the exercise.
Yeah.
I can't run anymore.
Cheer you guys
Like
on.
long distance, a half a mile, I can walk.
You're pretty far away from it. Casey, the oldest grandkid, bought a house there. He invited Sue and I over for dinner. And the three of us, it was his little Rito, but it was
With a sweatshirt over it, you work up a good sweat. It's a good
I'm glad I could live this hard to enjoy that.
Not real good for arthritis in my joints, but you know what?
Too easy. All right, it's 7:30. Welcome you all to the October 19th, 2022 regular council meeting. Would the clerk please read the roll?
Mr. Amrine?
Here.
Mr. De Leon?
Here.
Mr. Ferrara?
Here.
Mr. Kuhar?
Here.
Ms. Rosenberg? Here. Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Here.
Mr. Sidoti?
Here.
Mr. Turner?
Here.
Ms. Wallach?
Okay, we have opening remarks by Mr. Sidoti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I can't believe that I actually got my snow blower out today, and I'm sure everyone is thinking outside how cold it is. It's coming, and I would encourage everyone to prepare appropriately and remember that we do have an ordinance about walks, and review those because I think the snow's going to fly this year. Our city crews do one great job of trying to keep up with the leaves, so have some patience as they work around, coming around to your property. They'll get there. They always do. Even I think we've gone as far as in the middle of December just to make sure we get them all picked up. But just have some patience, and your streets will be picked up. Other than that, Mr. Mayor, let's always stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first thing we have, our police chief has some accommodations to put out and explain why. It's all yours, Chief Shear.
First off, I want to thank all of you, members of council, for giving me the opportunity to do this tonight. I think it goes without saying that all too often we see the negatives stories involving police officers, and we don't take the time to recognize the great performance that some of our officers go out and do on a daily basis. The incidents that I'm going to present tonight are certainly far from a daily basis type of incident. They are more the rare type of thing, but the officers have performed extremely admirably, so I want to bring them up. I'm going to start with, there's two different incidents that I'll talk about, so I want to start with bringing up Officer Matt Butcher. A little bit about Officer Butcher. He's been with our department for about 15 years, and in his time with our department, he has always had a strong desire and really excelled in dealing with people in mental health crisis. Officer Butcher, this year will be the third year actually in his career with our department that Officer Butcher's been recognized as the County CIT Officer of the Year. CIT is the Crisis Intervention Team. So this will be the third time he's been recognized countywide as essentially the premier officer in the county in that regard. The incident that I want to talk about tonight about Officer Butcher's performance on was a crisis intervention related call, and I think that you'll all see that his performance was really commendable. So on Wednesday, August 10th, Officer Butcher responded to a suicidal subject call in which a male had already shot himself in the hand. When Officer Butcher arrived, he was able to make verbal contact with the male and take a position of cover behind a telephone pole across the street from the subject's residence. One of the things I want to point out about the position that Officer Butcher took is he took a calculated risk. He put himself probably a little closer to the scene than a lot of other police officers may have, while still maintaining some cover for himself. But he did it so he could. He had the confidence in his ability to establish a connection with this guy and use his de-escalation skills to end in a peaceful outcome. So he took that position and he did just that. He was able to establish a rapport with the subject, who initially was uncooperative, and he seemed determined not to give up. Officer Butcher was persistent in using his CIT skills to communicate. After nearly an hour of communication back and forth, he was able to convince the subject to exit the house unarmed and meet with Officer Butcher to seek medical attention. One of the things I think that is probably lost in this, for those who haven't experienced dealing with someone in that level of a mental health crisis, is the amount of effort, the amount of energy, the amount of emotion that goes into that for the officer. I wish I had the ability to play the video for you all tonight so you could see this incident, and you can hear the emotion in Officer Butcher's voice, and you can hear the compassion and care that he had for that gentleman under those circumstances. I want to say that it is very common that we're able to negotiate and use de-escalation skills to bring incidents to a calm resolution. But this one was different. This person had already used force against himself. He'd already fired a shot into himself. And when you take it to that level, that success rate drops significantly. So it's nothing short of amazing that he was able to use the skills that he has, build that rapport with that person, and get him to come out. Thankfully, that worked out in Officer Butcher's favor that night. The subject did come out of the house, did meet with Officer Butcher, and quite frankly, in watching the video, it's not just in that moment where he's trying to get this guy to do what he needs him to do. It was even after the fact, even after the scene is safe, the person's safe, all the officers are safe. You still hear the compassion and caring in Officer Butcher's voice as he talks to this gentleman, rides to the hospital with him in the ambulance, not because he had to, because he wanted to, and he told him he would do that. And the rapport that he built was phenomenal. So Matt, I appreciate your efforts that night. Next, I want to ask Lieutenant Short, Officer Cole, and Officer Kunka to come up. This is another call involving a crisis intervention attempt. Now, much different tactics had to be used because of the circumstances they were faced with, but ultimately they had a successful outcome and saved someone's life. I mean, any time that a police officer goes out to work and we can document a life-saving effort, I think it's really important that we recognize that performance. So on Friday, August 26th, these officers responded to a report of actually a crime initially. It was a protection order violation offense that they responded to. As they were investigating the report, one of the officers observed the male suspect exit a second-story window onto the roof of the house. And as he was doing that, they watched as he started to cut his wrist with a knife. So they're watching from the ground somebody on a roof start cutting himself, obviously causing self-harm. Now, obviously, that presents a really difficult situation. They're on the ground, he's on a roof. How do they stop this person? How do they intervene? And what do they do to try to save this person's life? It only got worse from that point forward for what he was doing to himself. He walked around the roof. Several officers were there trying, same thing, trying that negotiation, trying that de-escalation technique. Ultimately, the male sat down. It was a two-tiered roof, and he sat down on the roof. The next thing, I can't do this justice with words. You have to see it, I guess. But he actually cuts his neck. Is the next thing he does, at which time they used a minor amount of force to try to get this subject to just stop hurting himself in that moment. His response to that was to then try to stab himself in the chest. So seeing this again real time in video, and I can't, the video can't do it justice to me what they had to see in real life here. Ultimately, they were able to continue to talk, continue to communicate. They had a very good perimeter and surround on this gentleman. Eventually, what happened is he fell from the roof. Obviously terrible. That being said, in that moment, it gave these gentlemen the opportunity to render life-saving medical aid. They applied tourniquets and pressure to the wounds that the subject had. Later on that day, I had a phone conversation directly with the emergency room doctor who treated him, who said if not for the quick action that these officers took in rendering medical aid, his likelihood of survival would have been low to none. So the emergency room doctor herself who treated him credited these officers with saving that gentleman's life. He did survive everything that happened that day and is now out of the hospital. So if it wasn't for the actions that these officers took, he would not have survived. So again, life-saving efforts and obviously commendable actions of these officers. So I thank all of you. That's all I have. Thanks for your time.
Wow.
Great stories.
Wow.
Great stories. Roger, we need approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? That'd be September 21st minutes.
Yes.
All right. No discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. On to communications. Does the clerk have public communications?
Yes, the first up is Alex Hyde.
Just a minute, Alex. I got something to read. While the law does not require council to provide time for public comment, we have historically invited the public to make comments, and we appreciate their inputs. This is a time when residents and others can comment on matters that concern them. However, we will not engage in any debate, and as President of Council, I reserve the right to end any public comment that is disruptive, embarrassing, harassing, or otherwise objectionable. We ask that you come to the podium, speak your name and address very clearly for the record, and your phone number, and if you have written statements, we'd like you to leave them with the clerk.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Alex Hyde. I live on Silver Fox Drive, Doylestown, Ohio, and my phone number is 330.
Well, you don't have to leave your phone number.
Oh.
Just your address.
I thought you just said
No, that's okay.
My bad.
No, that's
Okay.
I just got corrected.
Sorry.
Story of my life.
All right. So as I said, my name is Alex Hyde. I'm here to advocate for Medicare for All. By now, you've all heard my colleague expound on our dismal health outcome statistics. That the U.S. is ranked last in practically every metric of health care. We have the highest infant and maternal mortality rates, that 30% of the U.S. population is saddled with crippling levels of medical debt, and that we as a nation spend more on health care than every other nation with an established health care model, or universal health care model. Also, that we can receive mediocre health care outcomes. But I'm not here to talk about that. What I'm here to talk about is the moral argument for Medicare for All and the obligation of the state to provide health care to its people. I'll start and end by asking you this. What is the primary goal of any government? The answer, to care for its people. Every other argument for the government flows from this answer, be it national defense, funding for public education, or even something as mundane as zoning laws. Healthcare is no exception, and as it stands right now, the U.S. is failing to care for its citizens at a fundamental level. For without Medicare for all, people of all social standings are forced to live their lives in fear of what might happen to them instead of living their lives as free Americans. Healthcare is not some abstract metric that can be manipulated on a spreadsheet. It is a visceral, lived reality of everyone, everywhere. And it is quite telling of the character of a government if it is willing to ignore such an integral and blatantly obvious obligation in caring for its citizens. If we wanted to continue to proclaim that the U.S. is a shining beacon on a hill, we have to act like it. We must right this moral injustice one city at a time if we have to, which is why I'm urging the Kent City Council to join over 100 localities and national organizations in calling upon Congress to pass Medicare for All. Thank you.
Thank you. Further, Amy?
Yes, Sean Schreckengast.
Name and address for the record.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Schreckengast. I live on 1100 Morris Road here in Kent. So, like I said, my name is Sean Schreckengast, and I am a senior public health student at Kent State University with a focus in public policy, economics, and administrations of health services. I'm also a campus leader as the president of the Public Health Student Alliance, and my education and experiences has provided me a unique perspective on how all policies influence our health. Tonight, I would like to discuss a unique, complex issue of health and how our created systems hinder the upward mobility of so many people. Americans take pride in our individual rights, freedoms, and liberties, as they should. This is what we've all fought for. We are one of the world's largest economies and often an agent of change. This being said, we are not perfect. We have to be willing to set our pride aside and acknowledge change needs to happen. We must step back from our systems and question who are they really working for. According to the Commonwealth Fund, the United States has the highest chronic disease burden and 2 times the rate of obesity compared to other developed countries. Yet the United States spends more on health care and health services than any other country. How is this possible? Is it individual behaviors and actions? Or is this simply a result from the systems for which we've created? The Kaiser Family Foundation estimates that 1 in 10 adults owe medical debt, with millions owing more than $10,000. For many, this places a price on life-saving medications and procedures. This stops many from seeking any form of low-cost prevention services, which has been proven effective in reducing spending and improving overall health outcomes. Now Americans have to weigh their options, feeding their family or taking their medications. Where do we draw the line with corporations prioritizing record profits while clients suffer financially? If not now, when is the point where we stand together against these injustices? With this being said, I am in support of Kent City Council passing a resolution supporting Senate Bill 4204, Medicare for All. The time to act is now. Health knows no borders. By passing this resolution, we can impact the lives of those living within the Kent community and so many more individuals. So I hope you will act in the interest of the City of Kent and others that struggle to access the basic human right of health by voting yes for a resolution supporting Medicare for All. Thank you.
Thank you. Further, Amy?
Emily Huff.
Name and address for the record.
My name is Emily Huff. I live at 4269 State Route 44 in Rootstown. Oh gosh.
You could take that off.
I do?
You go. Don't take
Oh,
it
there-
home.
that's
Don't
done.
take it off. All right.
This is fine. This is perfect. I'm a second-year medical student who grew up in Cincinnati, attended the University of Oklahoma, and then went abroad for my graduate studies. I lived in London for a number of years, where I studied neuroscience and worked as a nurse's assistant in a publicly funded NHS hospital. Moving from the privatized U.S. healthcare I had known to the publicized European model, I was able to see that my upbringing had blinded me to some of the faults in our deeply broken insurance system. I learned that a better way was possible, and that public health care is not an impractical fantasy, but rather a lived reality for nearly 70% of the first world population. As I have begun my medical training, I've come to believe that Medicare for All is not only a feasible political possibility, it is an urgent moral necessity. As some of you know from firsthand experience, it's a shamefully common occurrence for Americans to be forced into making horrifying decisions between death and bankruptcy. And one story that stayed with me is that of a mother learning that her infant daughter had a terminal autoimmune disorder and would not live to see her first birthday without treatment. Unfortunately, the treatment that she needed cost more than $11,000 per month with her mother's insurance. This was obviously incredibly devastating news, but to me, even more heartbreaking was her mother's reaction. Not to ask how she could possibly afford the treatment, but to begin trying to calculate, based on her savings, how many months she could afford to keep her daughter alive. This is not conscionable. This child did nothing wrong. No amount of healthy lifestyle choices, hard work, or personal responsibility could have prevented her illness. I'm not as well versed on the politics and the economic nuances of Medicare as some of my colleagues are, but to me this is an ethical issue. No one deserves to die because they can't afford medical treatment. Illness is not a punishment for bad choices or a failure to plan, and health is not a reward that you earn through gainful employment. It's a basic human right. And our country's decentralized healthcare system has resulted in crippling debt, unnecessary suffering, and preventable death. I understand that many have concerns regarding the financial and practical aspects of such a change. However, I would argue, like my colleagues, that the role of a government should be at times to assume the burden of policies which exist to serve the public good rather than to generate profit. For example, we're willing to federally provide for public school costs for children because we believe collectively that it's more important to live in a country where children have access to education rather than a country where schools are sufficiently profitable to their investors. In the same way, I support Medicare for All because I believe that it's more important to live in a country where people do not have to die of preventable disease just because they're poor or unemployed or exceptionally unlucky, rather than a country where hospitals are sufficiently profitable to their investors. We, as future physicians, have a responsibility to help our patients, and with financial considerations limiting what we can do for them, our hands are always halfway tied, which is an invisible binding that many Americans don't even notice because they've never known anything different. They were born into this. I empathize deeply with the questions and fears that many in this room have in contemplating such a radical shift in policy. However, I hope my testimony has encouraged you to consider that our personal politics cannot supersede our moral convictions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Further, Amy?
Dr. Joseph Zarconi.
Good evening. So I'm Joseph Zarconi. I live at 2784 Walnut Ridge Road in West Akron. I'm a longstanding member of the clinical faculty at NeoMed, and I want to start by making the claim that uninsurance and underinsurance have become a public health crisis in our country. So I'm a kidney specialist. When I see a patient with kidney disease, it's my job to first try to determine the cause to see if it can be fixed. If it can't be fixed, it may well progress to total kidney failure, known as end-stage renal disease, or ESRD. A person facing ESRD has basically three options. They can undertake dialysis treatments for the rest of their lives, they can undergo kidney transplantation, or they can choose neither treatment and accept dying. The best of these options is transplantation, but many patients aren't candidates because of the surgical risks. Dialysis, the most common pathway, is certainly an effective way of prolonging the patient's life, but it's associated with many health setbacks, frequent hospitalizations and procedures and complications, and it's incredibly costly. It also dramatically shortens the patient's life expectancy, and by decades. So when we see patients with abnormal kidney function, all of our initial approaches are aimed at either preventing the eventual need for dialysis by curing or stabilizing the disease if possible, or when the disease can't be fixed, preparing the patient to do everything that he or she can to slow its progression and delay the need for dialysis as far into the future as possible. For my insured patients, I can initiate a diagnostic workup that includes an ultrasound of the kidneys, a battery of elaborate blood work, and a possible kidney biopsy to determine whether there's something we can fix. For my uninsured patients, I can't offer this diagnostic workup because it's too expensive. They simply can't afford it. So it's quite possible that an uninsured patient might have a treatable or fixable condition, but we have no way to find that out. We can only resign ourselves to watching that person's kidney dysfunction progress and get worse and eventually lead to dialysis. For my insured patients, we can begin to talk about all of the things we can do to slow progression, including good medical management and control of their diabetes, their high blood pressure, their high cholesterol levels, all in collaboration with their primary care doctors, and numerous medications as part of that chronic disease management protocol. For my uninsured patients who don't have access to primary care doctors and who can't afford the medications they need, their kidney disease progresses more rapidly. They're likely to face dialysis within a period of about 2 years, much as it was in the 1980s when I was first training to be a kidney doctor, rather than many years or even decades as it is today with good medical care. The bottom line is that our uninsured patients don't get to know if they have a fixable disease, don't get the many additional years of slowing their progression. They suffer more, are in and out of the hospital with complications and setbacks, and then die at an age that we would all agree is far too soon. That's not fair. That's not good health care. And in the words of some of my patients, that sucks. In 2019, we spent about $51 billion on Medicare-related health care expenditures in this country, a large chunk of which was spent on dialysis care. We didn't need to spend that much, and wouldn't have, if all of our citizens could access health care with insurance. Too many people have suffered unnecessarily and died prematurely because we haven't fixed the underlying problem. I implore you as public servants to urge Congress to act on this concern as a matter of great urgency. Thank you.
Thank you. Further, Amy?
Max Brockwell.
Name and address, and we'll give you 3 minutes, Matt.
Hi there, Max Brockwell, 534 North Willow Street in Kent. Fellow members of the City Council and residents of Kent, I've spoken with many of you at great length this fall discussing implementation of a national single-payer healthcare system, Medicare for All. Here's the thing. As future physicians, we have all seen more than our fair share of health inequity. As part of the healthcare institution, we are taking action to correct that injustice. Because if we do not speak out against an unjust system, we are complicit in it. Over the past 4 weeks, you've heard a few stories from students and physicians that have witnessed firsthand the delay of patient care, suboptimal care, or care that was foregone altogether. Unfortunately, these are just a few examples that were chosen from a large pool of similar experiences highlighting the extensive nature of this issue. And these are all unified in one explanation. There are serious flaws in our medical system. We have established that our current system is broken, leading to health disparities and significantly worse health outcomes compared to similar nations that do have national health care programs. We discussed the details of Medicare for All, which would expand health care to all members of our society, including dental, vision, and mental health care. We delved into the inefficiencies in health care today and explored how single-payer health care would both be affordable and sustainable according to multiple rigorous academic studies. Today, we come to you asking that you enact this resolution declaring the Council's support of Medicare for All. It will improve the health of our community. It will decrease the financial burden of the citizens of Kent when they do need medical care. And finally, it will begin to right decades of injustice which have affected women and social minorities most. I truly appreciate the time that the Council and the City as a whole has provided us to discuss this issue. And to be honest, the support we've received makes me proud to be a citizen of Kent. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Fuller.
Mr. Fuller, name and address. We'll give you 3 minutes.
I tell you, I don't know if I even want to do this, but I'm going to. I want to thank you all. I mean, I'm shaking here from the things you've said. We've all heard what you've said before, but having you, future doctors, stand before us and talk to about it is very meaningful. Now I'm going to talk about something trivial compared to what they're doing. Architectural design.
Doug, name and address, Doug.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My name's Doug Fuller. I live at 1431 River Edge Drive in Kent. You heard from your consultants a week and a half ago about the architecture, about revising or modifying the existing architectural design guidelines. You got a very interesting talk from them about a paradigm shift. And I suggest to you, we don't need a paradigm shift. What we need is someone to do the job that you contracted with them to do. The discussion was great. I loved it. It was a planner's discussion about how we enter and feel about our city when we come into it. 100% agree with that. But that's not what we need them to do. We need someone seriously to look at doing the revised needs to the guidelines and bringing them to you. You got almost nothing of that in 2 sessions with them about what they're thinking about doing. I want to back up. They had 40 interviews, 30 or 40 interviews, and they haven't presented to you any information from those interviews. Normally when you hire a consultant, they'll come in and say, hey, this is what we found about your city. We went and talked to 40 people. We thought that was really a good thing to do. And then they talk to you about what they found out. They haven't said a thing to you about that. But they want to talk about a paradigm shift. That's a cool statement that planners sometimes like to use when they really don't know what to talk about. And so I really hope you'll get down to it. Do it and ask questions. I know you don't like to ask a lot of questions, and I'll take that back. You don't have the equipment to ask the right questions. You're not architects, you're not designers, you haven't done this before, and they're bringing you information and asking you to make decisions on things that aren't even related to what their charge from you, what you're paying them to do. So in any event, I wish you would get in contact. I'll help you do that. A fellow named Nathan Bevel at the state. He just had 2 webinars that he did on design guidelines and design architectural review boards. I had sent that to the city. I don't know if it got to you or not, and you had the chance to look at it. It's very informative. But even better than that would be Nathan is willing to come here and talk to you about them, or he will talk to you from his office in Columbus and learn about architectural design guidelines and the importance of them. No one has come to you in this from your consultants and told you about how communities have the right to have guidelines and have laws about those guidelines in the cities. You have the right to do that. And you don't need to react when someone calls up because they don't like someone says something bad about their paint color. It's not about that. It's about the bigger picture that communities have the right to do this. And we are a community of a lot of people that are involved in these things. I would love, they told us when we were interviewed, they have our emails and that they'd keep us informed. Well, they've had 2 meetings with you since then and never informed anyone that meetings were going on. It would be delightful if we took this seriously, not as seriously as them. Honest to God, not as serious as them.
Doug, your time's about up. Can you wind it up?
Yeah, I'm going to wind it up real quick. It's important to have guidelines, and I'll use a simple example. The city administration has removed any review of buildings outside the design guidelines from the Architectural Review Board. And look at what we got at Chipotle. Please drive by the new Chipotle. Excuse me, it's a piece of crap. All cities have to do, all communities have to do is say to builders and developers, we want better than the worst thing you can think of. And you'll usually get that. If you had seen what we originally got from the developers of the new downtown that was built, it was something you wouldn't want to build. What emerged simply because we asked and showed them design guidelines, it came out much better. Please, I'm willing to help in any way. It is serious, not as serious as this, but it is serious because it's something we can do here as a community. And I hope you support what they're asking for. It's not something that you can cause to happen nationally, but certainly our statement is worthwhile. But architectural review design guidelines, we can. I'm sorry, I'm over time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Further?
That's all.
That's all. Written communications, please.
Planning Commission agenda and staff report for October 4th was received September 27th, 2022. Architecture Review Board agenda for October 4th was received on September 29th. Notification that both the Planning Commission and the ARB meeting for October 4th, 2022 were canceled. That was received on October 3rd. The Standing Rock Cemetery Board of Trustees meeting agenda for October 13th was received October 5th, 2022. And the Board of Zoning Appeals agenda and staff report for October 17th was received October 10th, 2022.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. City Manager's report, Jack.
Yeah, I'd like to move items 1 through 12 on the city manager's report.
Second.
Second by Gwen. Is there any discussion on them? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mr. Rower, do you have something else?
Nope, thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Moving on, standing committee report. First one's committee of the whole. I need a motion for the minutes of October the 5th.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Roger. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. One abstention. Action recommended. I need that motion, Roger, or somebody?
So moved.
Oh, Gwen, all right. Gwen.
I'm sorry, yes, I move that we,
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Roger. Is there any discussion on the actions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, that moves us down to the boards and commission voting. We have 2 people to vote on. Is there a motion from the floor?
Yes.
Yes.
I would move to appoint Jeff Forstner and Laura Scarniccia as applicants for the board.
I'll second that.
Board of Zoning Appeal.
Yes.
Jack seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I need a motion to authorize that legislation.
So moved.
Second.
Second by John. Any discussion about authorizing that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Would the clerk read draft number 2022-105 with the names inserted?
Draft 2022-105, a resolution appointing Jeff Forstner and Laura Scarnecchia to the Board of Zoning Appeals and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Gwen. Please call the roll for suspension.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-105 has passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2022-106 in title only?
Draft 2022-106, an ordinance authorizing the city manager or his designee to enter into agreement between the City of Kent and Kent State University to create a new shared sustainability coordinator position and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Gwen. Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Move adoption. Second.
Second by Gwen. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Heidi?
Yeah, I think I did this the last meeting, but I do want to commend the city manager and being out in front of the issues before us regarding sustainability. I think that you know we can have all the planning in the world, but if we don't have a way to implement, if we don't have people responsible and accountable to both our city and to Kent State, which is kind of nice to have that partnership, at least going into this, then we won't be able to meet our goals. So I just really think that this is an important position for the city, and I appreciate that our city manager presented this idea.
Any more comment? Please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-106 passes.
Okay, that's it for Committee of the Whole. Community Development, Mr. Kuhar.
Yes, I just have to ask for the approval of the minutes for the October 5th, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Second by Mike. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes. That's all it is for committee.
Abstain.
Oh, one abstention, I'm sorry.
Have no actions.
All right. Health and Safety, Mr. Amrine.
Yeah, I'd like to move the minutes from the October 5th meeting.
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
One abstention. Thank you.
I'd like to move the one action recommended.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Kuhar?
Yeah, as I said previously, I'm definitely not an expert in medical care and medical insurance and that. I do think the young students from NeoMed did an excellent job and something they believe in wholly. But because I don't know about something, I go out and I look for research. And so where do I go? I go to some of the administrative people at the local hospitals around us. I talk to the family physicians and specialists, you know, where I go for medical treatment. I talk to some of the insurance people. And after a good number of inquiries of different things, it seems like I came up with basically the same response from them. Almost all of them were in agreement that the last person you want handling your medical treatment would be the United States government. The other thing they got a consensus of, that one of the biggest problems with the Medicare was, or with the medical treatment, was the drug companies' price gouging, and then the other big thing was the administrative costs. And then again, all of them agreed that the medical system in the United States leaves a little bit to be desired and should be improved in certain aspects of it, but they all felt that this was not the answer. So for that reason, I'll take their advice because they know what they're talking about, and I'll vote no.
Roger?
Yeah, well, I'm going vote yes on the motion. I think that there are these, and I respect John's position of going out and talking to people, but those people have vested interests. Those people are vested in the way things work currently. They're vested in it, and they certainly are not going to do anything that is going to jeopardize their vested interests, whether they be doctors, insurance people, or whatever. I don't know that this resolution is going to do anything. I don't know if we're even going to get it to the floor of Congress. But we need to start having a real conversation and step back from our vested interests on things. I think the best way to do it is we lay out something that says, okay, everyone agrees that there needs to be change. Well, change doesn't occur by people taking ideological positions on either end of the spectrum. It doesn't occur by taking, dare I say, financial situations on either side of the spectrum. It comes with really difficult conversations about how to fix this system that is not working for all. And lastly, from a philosophical standpoint, I have a lot of far-right friends who call themselves originalists because they want to go back to the Constitution. I'm really an originalist. I go back to the Declaration of Independence. It says we're all born with inalienable rights of life, liberty, and property or pursuit of happiness, depending what political side of the aisle you stand. In the end, it doesn't say inalienable right of life if you can afford it. It basically said we're laying out a country that is going to somehow make it that we all are able to attain that inalienable right. Let's just put it that way, in a meaningful sort of way. So it seems to me, let's force the conversation. So I'm going to support it.
Heidi?
Yeah, well, government is in the healthcare business, I have to say. For our oldest citizens, they have a system called Medicare. It's not perfect, and people also purchase additional insurance if they wish to. We also have a system for our poorest citizens. That's called Medicaid, and from what I can see is that has removed a lot of barriers for people to access health care, including preventative health care. Again, it may not be perfect. One of the problems with it is there's this arbitrary line where you can suddenly lose Medicaid benefits, and then you're stuck with potentially being uninsured or, like most of us, underinsured. We're underinsured because we often face high deductibles. Some of us have premium insurance coverage, but most of us do not because we're reliant on our employers, and our employers are strapped. This should be decoupled from employment. We will see a flowering of innovation, new businesses starting, and it's really the right thing to do. We moved toward it incrementally with Obamacare, and even President Obama at the time said, we're not ready politically for a single-payer system. The time has come for this. We've seen the proof that having access to government-supported health care works. And access to people and using our old, outdated, employer-based health care does not. It leaves people out in the cold, without prevention, stuck in jobs they don't want. With lots of barriers, both to access and, debt, that one out of every 4 adults has medical debt, including thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. I believe it, and that's wrong. We're burdening our population, especially the middle class and the working middle class. So I will support this for sure.
Anybody else? Mr. Turner?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to support it. I think a lot of us are already on record my interest is a personal one. Having said that, I think that they have debated Obamacare. It won. I don't see people out beating up Obamacare anymore because it expanded health care to those who were unable to obtain it. We're talking life and death here. As Doug commented when he was up, this is perhaps one of the most important things we can do is make this statement here. And I'm confident tonight that we're going to support it. And I want to commend the people who brought it to us because it is a noble effort. And I think that now, tonight, we can do our part to start lifting people up in the most fundamental right that they have, a right to life in the area of health care that's not determined by where they are financially. We can do better. This country is about doing better. We have an opportunity to now do better, and so I will definitely be supportive of what is on the table regarding the resolution.
Further, Gwen?
Yes, I'd just like to thank everyone for attending tonight with the presentation. Thank you very much for your meaningful words and your experience in choosing a profession, helping others. I'm looking forward to voting in support of this resolution. I believe that it is a human right to be able to access medical care, especially in the United States of America. I think that government entities are already paying for medical care after the fact. Our paramedicine is one example. If we had an opportunity to help people get preventative health care ahead of time, we could save lives, we could save money. So I applaud you for coming to us today. And also that I think that although this is a resolution in support of, it's meaningful, and hopefully if you go to more cities and get more resolutions just like that, that's how change comes about. So again, thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to voting for it.
Jack?
Yeah, I will support this resolution as well. It's long overdue. I know you guys have, we all have a tough road to go down with this, because we do know that we're going to meet up with some very large organizations that are not going to be thrilled about this. But let me just say this. Maybe we need a new slogan, and that's, let's make America care again.
Good point, Jack. I don't know where we got off the railroad track, but we're off. Any more comments? All in favor of the action, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. With the clerk?
Aye.
Oh, 2 against. Would the clerk read draft number 2022-107?
Draft 2022-107, a resolution of the City of Kent, Ohio, endorsing Medicare for All Act of 2022, Senate Bill 4204, and declaring that access to quality, affordable health care is a human right, and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Roger. Please call the roll.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bush?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach? Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Who seconded it?
Roger.
Tracy?
Tracy.
Is there any discussion on adopting an ordinance? But I think you gave it all already, so I don't think we need to repeat it. So, all in favor of that? Oh, go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, whenever the residents of a state have the opportunity to vote on expanding Medicaid, it seems like they always vote to expand the Medicaid. In spite of the state legislators that are trying to not let them do that.
Good point. Anybody else? Read the rule for adoption.
Mr. Ferrara?
No.
Mr. Kuhar?
No.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bush?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Resolution 2022-107 is passed.
Okay, thank you. We move into the Land Use Committee. Mr. Ferrer.
Yes, I would move the committee meeting, the committee minutes for October 5th, 2022.
Second.
As well as the two
Second.
actions.
Second by Mike.
Separate the meeting.
Oh, so let's just do the minutes first then.
Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention. Now the action.
I'd move to authorize the repeal of ordinance 2022-098.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and one abstention. Tracy?
No.
Oh, okay, you're fine on that one.
And then I would move to authorize the approval of accepting the land from Franklin Township as part of the annexation process.
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay,
So
that
we've got
passed.
two drafts.
Would the clerk read draft number 2022-108 in title only?
Draft 2022-108, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 2022-098, passed September 21st, 2022, and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Gwen. Is there any discussion on adopting this? John? Oh, all right. Please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-108 is passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2022-109 in title?
Draft 2022-109, an ordinance accepting an annexation of 174.828 acres of land, more or less, from Franklin Township, Portage County, to the city of Kent, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Gwen. Please call the roll on suspension.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Mike. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll for adoption.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-109 is passed.
Okay, thank you. Moving to streets and sidewalks and utilities, Mr. Sidoti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the committee meeting minutes for October 5th, 2022.
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed,
Abstain.
same sign, and one
Abstain.
abstention.
I'd like to move the two actions that were recommended.
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay. Would the clerk read draft number 2022-110?
Draft 2022-110, an ordinance authorizing the city manager or his designee to submit on behalf of the city of Kent and Franklin Township an application to the Ohio Public Works Commission, OPWC, for the Hudson Road Phase 5 widening and resurfacing project and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Heidi. Please roll the roll for suspension.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Heidi. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Heidi?
Yeah, I don't anticipate anybody saying, being against it, but I just want to say that this is another situation where we're helping to provide access to the bike trails, which is the idea that if we have these bike trails, but everybody has to get in their car to travel the roads safely to get to the bike trails, they're less effective as a means of transportation for people. So this is one way that we're, incrementally working with partners such as Franklin Township to make the route to the bike trails safer for our citizens.
Anybody else? Please call the roll for adoption.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yep.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-110 is passed.
Thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2022-111 in title only?
Draft 2022-111, an ordinance authorizing the city manager or his designee to renew an agreement giving consent to the State of Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, for participation in their bridge inspection program services for the year 2023, PID 117554, and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Roger. Please call the roll for suspension.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Farrar?
This ordinance. Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-111 is passed.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Finance Committee, Mr. De Leon.
Yeah, move the committee meeting minutes from October 5th,
Second.
2022.
Second by Garrett. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Abstain.
same sign. One abstention.
I'd like to move the 2 actions recommended.
Second.
Second by Gwen. Any discussion on the actions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2022-112 in title only?
Draft 2022-112, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2021-133, the current appropriation ordinance passed December 15th, 2021, so as to adjust appropriations, transfers, and advances from the various funds of the City of Kent, Ohio, to City of Kent, to individual accounts for the current expenses of the city for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Roger. Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
And Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Mike. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-112 passes.
Okay, would the clerk read draft number 2022-113 in title only?
Draft 2022-113, an ordinance authorizing the city budget and finance director and law director or their designees to sign an employment contract between the City of Kent and Dave Roller and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Gwen. Please call the roll on suspension.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Move adoption.
Second.
Wait, Gwen moved it. You're
sorry.
seconding
I
it?
second it.
Is there any discussion on adopting this, Mr. Ferrer?
I would just say, I'm happy to extend Dave's contract, and he continued to do a great job for the city and represents our city extremely well, and I look forward to many more years of him being here, so thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Sidoti?
Yeah, I'll second all those comments.
Garrett, you're on a roll. Anybody else? With that said, please call the roll for adoption.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ordinance 2022-113 passes.
Okay, that's it for it. If you're wondering, we're not rubber stamping this. We discussed all this 2 weeks ago. So this is just a legal proceeding we go through. I know some people have asked me after council meeting, well, when did you discuss that? Well, it was all 2 weeks ago. So this is our legal process. We're in unfinished business. Anybody? New business, anybody? Oh. Council members comment. Gwen?
Yeah, I just have 2 comments. I want to congratulate Main Street Kent for a fantastic Rainbow Weekend in Kent. I think it was a fantastic event. It was important to celebrate it, and I think people came out, and I think they really enjoyed it. It says a lot about our city that we could host a Rainbow Weekend with such a great turnout. I'd also like to remind everybody over the age of 18 to please vote. This is our last meeting before Election Day. Your vote matters. All of our votes matter. And democracy is very, very important. I just wanted to give everybody that quick reminder. So, and early voting has already started, so no excuses.
Well said there, Heidi.
Yeah, I wanted to join Gwen in thanking the students from Neomed for your dedication and your compassion and your willingness to put time and effort into this process. I've just been amazed at how successful you really planned this through. You didn't just come and make demands. I think that a lot of care and thought went into this process. I hope that you continue this advocacy work in this way, but also when you do become physicians. I think that carries a lot of power in making social change happen. And people see that, that it's just very heartening to see the effort that you've put into this. So thank you very much. And I also want to say, I hope everybody has a safe and happy Halloween.
Mr. Turner.
Yeah, again, my hat's off to the students at Neomed. I can be very succinct in this. You are the change, and we're appreciative that you've stepped forward. In doing this, you've started the ball rolling. It's going to make a difference. That I have no doubt. The other one is I wanted to commend our police department. There was a incident that occurred actually in front of my house. Shooting. They acted with dispatch. They were able to bring it to at least so far in the process, a successful conclusion, inspiring confidence in the community and the neighborhood. I've always had a lot of positive things to say about the police in the city of Kent. They are, in my mind, the best. And I'm honored to have the opportunity to let them know as a elected official representing that neighborhood that I am so appreciative of the way they handled it. And again, they make a huge difference here, and they are a sense of pride for us as a city government and as elected people. And so I wish to commend them for that. And thank you, Chief. Thank you.
You done, Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Well, since Robin brought it up, I just want to put a little topper on the hat. I've been on council, I don't know, it's been over 10 years at least. And when I first was on council, 90% of the complaints that I received was from students saying the police were bullying them all the time. And, it's been a long time since I've had any type of complaints like that. And now I get normal complaints like tree roots are breaking something up, or the raccoons got that neighborhood hostage. But I haven't had a complaint about police bullying students for a long time. So that means we're either changing and getting better, or people are just afraid to call. I don't know what it is, but I'd like to think we're getting better.
Anybody else? Mr. Sidoti?
Well, okay, Mr. Kuhar, you jogged something in my mind, too.
Uh-oh.
I have to say
The educator.
Yeah, I know, it's really bad when you're an educator. But I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Officer Butcher, when he first started, he was always up at the school. He was always out in, he was always assigned, like, to football games on Friday nights and things like that. And, it's so impressive when you watch people who start in their profession and they grow. And that suggests to me, and John, this goes to what you're saying, that that as long as our, our department chairs, and I know it comes from Dave as the administrative head of the thing, when we have a growth mindset, when we truly have a growth mindset, and our whole community has a growth mindset, there really isn't anything we couldn't do. And there isn't any service we couldn't do. And it's clear to me the leadership in the police department as well as in our fire department and in our health department. I mean, if you look over the last decade, the meaningful growth of the things that are occurring, that tells me that we're all on the right track, and we just got to keep supporting these people. And I want to commend Officer Butcher in his growth. I know the organization has served him well, and he's serving us well. So thank you for doing your job, Chief.
Further? No more? Mayor's comment first. John, happy birthday tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
You want to tell us how many?
Again.
Huh?
21 again.
21 again.
The day over 22. John.
Well, if you're 21, you can sure run after those raccoons then.
It's good they're complaining about them.
One other thing is, for the last 2 years, and what really brought this about was the COVID-19. We, at Christmas time, have been given a Christmas gift to the employees, and it amounts to $25 a person. I'm asking for a motion that we can do this again this year. It does a couple things. It makes the employees, this isn't part of their contract, this is something extra, to have a little extra in their pocket during the holidays, but moreover, it supports the downtown businesses, and these vouchers are only good for the downtown businesses and a little extra. We've done it, like I said, for the last 2 years. We're going 3 years now. I don't know that we'll want to do it next year. It depends how the economy is and how things are, but it's not a guaranteed thing to the employees. But it's something I think we ought to, Dave and I talked about it today, and I think it's something we ought to do again. So if council...
Move to approve and declare an emergency.
I'll second it. I'll second
Jackson, is there any discussion?
I support this completely. I'm going to abstain.
You're going to abstain, though.
Since I have a business downtown.
It's all over popcorn.
But I think it's important to let our city employees know that they're appreciated, and who doesn't like a little gift.
I got to tell you, it's not a guaranteed thing. It's not part of their employee package. This is just something extra.
I think they should get more, but.
Yeah. Make sure you abstain and tell them the name of your business while
It amounts to $6,000. So, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
One abstention, that's good, so that passes. Got it, Mr. Roller? The Medicare thing, I commend you people for doing this. I come from a medical family, but nothing's ever free. Somebody's going to pay the bill along the line, and it's probably going to be your kids, because I won't be here, and maybe my kids will pass away before the bill actually hits everybody, but somebody's going to pay it. It's not free, but I commend you for what you did. The other thing is, and two people brought it up, don't forget to vote on the 8th. The polls are open now. I already voted. There's a lot of different candidates out there. There's a lot of issues out there. Sort the issues out. Sort the candidates out. You don't have to vote a straight party. You can vote some Republicans, some Democrats, and that's fine. But do the justification. You have the right to vote, so vote. With that, we're going to go into executive session. Mr. Amrine, we need a motion.
I'd like to move a executive session to discuss employee evaluation and compensation.
Second by John. Please call the roll.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaper-Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
And Ms. Wallach?
Yes. Doug is doing.
That's the room. We'll give you 5 minutes to clear the room out, and thanks, everybody.